victimized, victims, perpetrators, all of it. I will have a hard time doing that with the perpetrator in this case. You'll find that in most of my videos, I call them by their first name. I'm probably not going to do that in this case. I'm just apologizing for it now. You probably don't care, but whatever. Anyway, I'm about to tell you about the absolutely terrible, terrible murders of Julie Kibuishi and Samuel Herr. I'm going to start with Julie. Anyone who knew Julie immediately decided that she was kind and full of life. She was 23 and a college student from Southern California. She was described as beautiful, graceful, dynamic, strong, and, like most of us girls, emotional. Everybody just loved her. She was compassionate and warm and talented and an absolute joy to watch on stage. And her mother, June, just cherished her. She was so proud that Julie grew up to be kind and honest and caring. So, when Julie was found dead in the bedroom of Samuel Herr, a 26-year-old Army war veteran that she had been tutoring for anthropology class, all suspicion turned to Samuel. And, they were friends. He had told his dad there was nothing going on between them, that they were like just brother and sister. They just kind of goofed off a lot. His parents, Julie was discovered because Samuel's parents got concerned. They hadn't heard from him in a while, and he was supposed to come to visit for the weekend, and his dad, Steve, was calling his phone, and it was just like off. So Sam never turned his phone off. So the dad was like, I'm gonna go check on him. I have a key. And the more he called, the more concerned he got, and so he just decides to go over there. And when he gets there, he finds something terrible. He found Julie on Sam's bed, face down, with her clothing ripped, and she was killed with a gunshot. And oddly enough, she was wearing a tiara, and written on her sweater were the words, "All yours, F.U." There was no sign of a struggle. The apartment appeared incredibly clean as Samuel kept it, but Sam, the combat veteran who'd served in Afghanistan and showed some signs of PTSD, had disappeared. Obviously, Steve says, there's a dead woman in my son's apartment and he's missing. I'm not stupid, but I call the police even though suspicions are going to be placed on my son. The police issue an all-points bulletin for Sam. Detective Jose Morales and Lieutenant Ed Everett with the Costa Mesa Police Department believe that, given Sam's military history, he knows how to use a firearm and could possibly have had a PTSD episode. these have happened kind of sporadically in the last couple days since Sam has gone missing. Police, of course, discover this information too, and they pull the bank footage from the ATM cameras and they send it to Steve. But it's not Sam. His parents don't know who this guy is. Nobody knows who this guy is. Police say that Sam Herr's credit card activity showed 4 different ATM withdrawals and a pizza delivery to a place in Long Beach. And the person on the ATM cameras was a teenager. So when the police learn of a second pizza delivery, they think, we found him, let's go get him. So they storm this house thinking that they're going to find Sam, and instead they find 16-year-old Wesley and some of his friends. He opens the door and the cops are like, don't move, get on the ground. And they put him in handcuffs and they go inside. He and all of his friends are outside on the ground, handcuffed. Wesley's mom is not in her room, but the door is shut and locked, so the police are assuming that Samuel's in there. And everything is just going absolutely crazy. But of course, they don't find Sam. Police quickly figure out that Wesley was not involved in Julie's murder, but they did find Samuel Herr's ATM card in his possession, and they want to know how he got it. He immediately told them everything. This teen told police that Dan Wozniak, an older guy that his mother had met in community theater, had given him Samuel's card and had asked him to make these withdrawals. Wesley said Wozniak told him that he was a bail bondsman and he needed to collect the money that Sam owed. He had an actual folder full of paperwork saying that it was all legal and that since Wesley was a minor, he couldn't be charged. And he pulls out this ATM card and he gives it to this kid, gives him instructions to withdraw the full amount and to make sure that he wears a hat and glasses. All in all, only, and I'm going to say only because we'll talk about it later, $1,900 was taken from Samuel's bank account. So, after the police talk to Wesley, poor 16-year-old kid scared to death, they decide they've got to talk to Dan Wozniak. So they call this community theater actor and they ask him to come in. And he says, I can't. I'm busy. Tonight's my bachelor party. He was on his way there. Wozniak was marrying fellow performer Rachel Buffett just 2 days later. So the police decide, we're coming to the party. He was there with a couple of his friends, and immediately when he saw the police, you could just see the blood drain from his face. He got really white and immediately just looked at the ground. So they take him in for questioning. And as you can imagine, it was a mess. During his first interrogation, Wozniak admitted that he talked Wesley into making the withdrawals using Sam's credit card. But he told detectives that he and Sam were working on a credit card scam where Sam was supposed to report his card stolen, and then Wesley would make the withdrawals, and Sam would call the bank and try to get the money back, which is pretty elaborate. But okay, this guy's brain. Anyway, Wozniak said, I will tell you whatever you want to know as long as it gets me out of here before my wedding on Friday. I promise. And the cops are like, you're not going anywhere. So they're spinning, they're dancing, they're playing good cop, bad cop, and he tells the police about the morning of Julie's murder. He said that Sam came to him and said that he had done something bad and that he had killed Julie. Convinced that Wozniak is somehow covering for Sam, he's now officially charged as an accessory to murder for Julie Kibuishi. saw Sam that same day and that Sam drove off with this mysterious person in a black hat. But then he says, oh, that's a lie. That black hat person doesn't exist. That it was just him and Sam in the car. And the police are asking, did you see Julie? Was she dead? Did you see her body? Were you there? And he's like, no, I didn't see her. I didn't know she was dead. I didn't know she was shot. And under the spotlight, the actor just heightens this drama, and he tells the police that Sam confessed to him, that they're driving along, and Sam says, I did something bad. They were on the freeway, and Wozniak says that he pulled off the freeway, and he was like, what have you gotten me into? And Sam replied, it's not good. There's a body in my apartment. I need help. And then he issues a death threat, and he says, I know where you live, and if you rat me out, I'm going to kill you. Wozniak spun this tale. He used every asset he had. Sam's a killer on the run, desperate for cash. Wesley made the withdrawals. Wozniak, in exchange for his silence, because now he knows, takes a cut of the money as Sam plans his escape. It's almost 2 a.m., 4 hours after getting arrested as an accessory to murder, and Wozniak is still insisting that he has no clue where Sam is, and the police want to know. Sometimes he's whispering, sometimes he's yelling, but he is completely sticking to his script. He dropped Sam off, and he was waiting to hear from him. He said, I don't know what else you want me to say. I'm telling you the God's honest truth. And of course, the police are suspecting that he's lying. And the harder they pushed, the more the story changed. He went from saying that he never went into the apartment to the fact that he came downstairs and said, you gotta come help me. And that he went upstairs and he saw the body. And then he makes the biggest mistake yet. He says, yes, I saw the body. Is that what you want? I saw the 2 gunshots in her head. And this immediately raises red flags for the detectives, because they had only noticed 1 gunshot in Julie's head, not 2. It was that statement that made Wozniak the prime suspect. You can't see the bullet holes, you can't see them in her head, although later it was confirmed that she was shot twice. The story kept changing, and he thought that his acting career was going to carry him through this performance, but it didn't. The detectives now know that he knows more than he's saying, and they still don't know what. So they decide, in a pretty slick move in my opinion, to use his fiancée. They bring in Rachel to see if it would tell them more. They want to see what she's gonna do. They want to see if she's involved in all of this. But Rachel barely reacts to the news that the man that she was set to marry the following day was under arrest for covering up a murder, and that her wedding was off. She never screamed at him. She never cried. She never yelled. She just sat there. This was another huge red flag to the detectives. Wozniak said that Rachel didn't know anything, and the police really believed that she had to know more. She had to know more than what she claimed, because she did not seem shocked at all. After this, he's in jail, and I'm not sure how much time had passed. I'm figuring it's gotta be later on that evening. Wozniak places a phone call to Rachel from the jail, and he says that he needs her to tell his brother see me for the rest of your life. Do you understand? And then he says, I have to tell the truth about what I did, and I think you know what it is, and it's bad. It's worse than you can imagine. So, this backpack, they found it, of course, and he knows what's in there, and he says, it's a bonanza of evidence. It's the shell casings, Sam's wallet, Sam's ID, the checkbook, Sam's bloody clothes. That afternoon, he goes to the police and he says, I want to talk. He admits to not only killing Julie, but also Sam. He starts off by saying, I'm crazy, and I did it. I killed Julie, and I killed Sam. The detectives just couldn't believe what they were hearing. Herr, the man that they believed killed Julie Kibuishi, was dead. Not a murderer, but another victim in Wozniak's crazy scheme. And the detectives are like, alright, so now we know we just have to listen to him. We have to ask him some questions, find out what he did with Sam, because at this point, we want to find him. So Wozniak goes on to explain that Sam had told him that he had saved about $62,000 from being in the army. You know, they get hazard pay and deployment pay, and the military is pretty good money, and he was a thrifty guy. His only expense was he liked to travel, but he liked to do it on the cheap. I understand. Daniel, who has no job, no money, about to get married, about to get evicted, saw that killing Sam and stealing his money was his way out. He saw it as no problem to kill two people and go on a cruise for his honeymoon. Police said that Daniel Wozniak told him that he asked Sam to come to the Liberty Theater where he was performing, and that he needed some help moving some boxes, and Sam was a nice guy, and he went. He apparently trusted Daniel Wozniak enough to turn his back on him, and that's when Wozniak shot him. He shot him once, and Sam was still alive, saying, I need help, something hit me. Wozniak reloaded and refired. He then stole Sam's phone and credit cards, and left his body in the attic of the theater, and then unbelievably performed his starring role in the musical 9 that night on the stage in the same theater. The stage manager, a woman named Kara Kessinger, said that he seemed fine, just like any other day. He did a great job. After the performance, about 10:30 p.m. on Friday, Wozniak and fiancée Rachel returned to their apartment, and he turned to covering up his crime, sending Julie those text messages on Sam's phone, pretending to be Sam. He said, you need to come over tonight, and Julie, wearing the tiara that she was to wear in her brother's wedding, went to Sam's around midnight. Dan appeared and unlocked the door, and she followed him in. He led her upstairs and said, oh, by the way, did you see this in Sam's bed? And she said, what? He led her into Sam's bedroom. Wozniak said, lean over and look at that right there. And when she leaned over, I put 2 bullets in her head. He then wrote the message on her sweater and cut her pants off. He admitted that he wanted to set Sam up, to make Sam look like he assaulted Julie and to kill her, so that the police would go after Sam. But the plot doesn't end there, guys. I don't know how he got away from Rachel that night at midnight, and she didn't know anything, but whatever. The next morning, he goes Sam's body is, and completes an act that he actually admits that he found funny. And this is where I get horrified. He actually says to the police, "I was smiling and laughing. It reached a point to where I couldn't even believe I was doing this." With an axe and a saw, he dismembered Sam's body. And in a cold, matter-of-fact tone, he told the police where to find him. He had tossed him in pieces around a park, not even bothering to bury him. So, armed with this information, the police go looking for Samuel's body. And at first, they were able to find everything except his hand and his head. Which just... So, on Samuel's should have been birthday, it was the next day, it was a Saturday, his dad was just praying for them to find his son's head, and they did. They found him in a park under scattered leaves on what would have been his 27th birthday. The other hand was never found, which is kind of scary that it's like hanging out in a park somewhere. But Samuel Herr was given a full military burial with honors. Mr. Wozniak was immediately charged on 2 counts of first-degree murder. His brother Tim and fiancée Rachel would also be arrested, not for murder, but as accessories. Tim for hiding the backpack, and Rachel for lying to the police. They always felt that Rachel was a part of it, that she protected him somehow. She was living with him, and they just said that she just knew. She got out on bail and went on the Dr. Phil show and told everyone she didn't know anything. She said that she didn't know anything until after the police arrested Daniel Wozniak. Stephen Herr does not believe this. He, in fact, cannot believe that she went on national television, and he wasn't about to let her do it without confronting her. He gets this call and he says, "You're going on TV. My son is dead. He was cut up into pieces, and you're out on bail, just going about your life and going on TV. Poor me." Like, Rachel was like, "I understand that you're upset. Maybe I made a bad call. No, you're not a victim here. Like, no. Look, former Disney princess, you are messed up." Anyway, sorry, I'm furious. Daniel Wozniak went to trial for the double murder of Julie Kibuishi and Sam Herr. And if he was found guilty, he could be sentenced to the death penalty. The prosecutor said that the death penalty was not enough for Daniel on this. He wanted proof. He wanted proof of hell. He wanted proof that there was something waiting for this guy after he died. Prosecutor Matthew Murphy presented the evidence. He painted a chilling portrait of a killer with no conscience. They found Google searches on his computer, how to hide a body, quick ways to kill people, and of course, like, resort vacation areas to go for his honeymoon. He says this is a guy who's planning to murder 2 people so he can have an awesome time on his honeymoon in Mexico. So, of course, they always have to tell about the physical evidence. He stole a gun from his dad to commit these crimes, and the backpack. So it's, cut and dry at this point. This guy did this, and we know why. The prosecution put 23 witnesses on the stand over 4 days, including teenager Wesley, who was arrested but not ever charged. And they said that Mr. Wozniak was was just disturbing in court. He was smiling and laughing and just, just sat there just like with this little rude smirk on his face. And anyway, the defense did not put up any witnesses, and after a 5-day trial, his fate was in the hands of the jury. He sat emotionless as the jury found him guilty of murdering Sam and Julie. And the verdict was a relief, but not enough for the Herr and Kibuishi families. What he did, it warrants the death penalty, according to Steve. Just 2 weeks later, the same jurors were back in the courtroom for what's called the penalty phase. They would have to determine whether Wozniak should be given life in prison or sentenced to death. Prosecutor Matt Murphy, who has tried 7 other death penalty cases in his career, said the strategy is simple. It is get the Kibuishis and the Herrs on the stand and let the jury understand their pain. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy knew that Sam and Julie were loved. Murphy told the jurors, now you get to think about those people. You get to think about those moms and what they've gone through, and you get to assign a weight to that. And that's the beautiful thing about the penalty phase, is it's not his show anymore. It's Sam and Julie's show. It's about the families. It's not about him. 6 people testify on behalf of Sam and Julie, but none of Wozniak's family members come out to speak about him. In fact, none of them showed up to support him. By all accounts, from detectives, Mr. Wozniak had very nice parents. They gave him every possible advantage in life, and he took that and abused it. Wozniak's defense attorney, a guy named Scott Sanders, tries to shift the blame to fiancée Rachel that she was money hungry, and he did this because he was pressured by her, and that they would see very soon that she was the smarter of the two by far. Now remember, she's not been charged with committing or planning, just as an accessory. So their strategy was to try to get as much blame off of Daniel as they could. They had to pin it on someone else, so they used Rachel. And it takes a week before the case goes again to the jury, and they come back quickly, to everyone's surprise, in just a little over an hour. And they said that he would have the death penalty. It took a long 5.5 years for all that to come to a culmination, but it wasn't over yet. Before the judge could formally sentence Wozniak, Sanders demanded more time to explore the informant issue and to argue against the death penalty. It would be 8 more months before the families got their chance to address the court and the man who murdered their children. Steve Herr stood surrounded by combat veterans that had served with Sam, and he said, "You, Dan, are a coward and a poster boy for the need of the effective death penalty in California. My only regret is that this state will not let me kill this coward myself." Julie's mother, June, got on the stand and said, "You took her precious life, and then you disgraced her. Why? What did she do to you? How could you do anything like that to my baby?" Judge Connolly then turned to Daniel Wozniak and read his decision. "It is the order of this court that you shall suffer the death penalty." So, finally, justice for Julie and Sam, but the families felt like there had to be more, and it would take 2 years after Daniel was sentenced to death that his former fiancée Rachel would face a jury for lying to the police. Prosecutor Matt Murphy said, by Monday, she knows that Julie is murdered. She knows that Sam is missing. She knows that Dan is connected by this but she doesn't want to say anything, and they get that, but it's not excusable. So she's charged with an accessory for trying to help Daniel escape. Remember, he told the police that he initially saw Sam with this guy in this black hat. Murphy points out that Rachel told the police the same lie, and in her videotaped interrogation, these lies continued. In fact, he gets the last word and he says, all this stuff goes right under her nose, so she doesn't have to know that he butchered 2 people and be okay with it. She just has to know that he's involved and that she's telling the police things that are not true in order to cover up for him. I myself count 19 separate lies in that interview. I'm asking you to convict her on one of them. On September 12th, 2018, after a week-long trial, the jury spent a day deliberating, and they reached its verdict. They found her guilty. She was sentenced to 44 months in prison. I didn't really look into her. I think they ended up only giving her like 32 months in prison, and she got good time and things like that. But, so I believe she's still in prison, but it won't be as long. Daniel is serving out his sentence at the San Quentin prison, and a lot of research that I did from this case actually came from a website called Daniel Wozniak is My Friend. I believe it's .com if you feel interested in checking it out, but it is a blog from a person who knows him and who was friends with him before and now after all of this. The last couple posts are all about the coronavirus and how Daniel Wozniak has it. The last one says that he's asymptomatic, and I'm not even going to go into how I feel about that with all of these people out there catching this and not surviving. This guy will get it and survive. I can't. I don't understand the gutsiness of this guy. He murders Julie for nothing. He didn't need to murder her. He planned this whole thing out with the credit cards and the scheming this little 16-year-old kid. How did he even get near this 16-year-old kid? Yeah, he knew her mom from the theater, but was it just a matter of the wrong place or the wrong time? And why? This Samuel guy's your friend. You want to steal his money? Maybe why don't you just ask if you could borrow some? I'm sure that he would have if he was such a nice, trusting, kind guy, which everyone said that he was. Maybe he would have just lent it to you. But of course, you can't logically or try to put yourself in the mind of a killer, because I don't think that way, and clearly his brain didn't function on all levels. He probably wasn't thinking, oh well, I could just borrow it instead of taking it all. I do find it, and maybe he thought he was being smart about it, but that only the $1,900 was withdrawn. Like, they were doing small transactions at a time, but 4 total transactions, usually the limit's like $500, so maybe that's why it was only that little. I'm kind of surprised that he didn't use the card to book something as far as the cruise that he wanted to go on so desperately went, or the Sandals Resort tour that he also wanted to take Rachel on. She dog is having a nightmare. I just can't, like, how could you perform like a 2-hour stage show knowing that you shot somebody upstairs? And number one, he could be discovered at any minute, and number two, you just left him there. Like, was he even gone when you left him? Did he die all alone? Just, oh, the greed in this case. Like, money really, really, really makes people into absolutely disgusting human beings, and it makes me absolutely furious that this guy took the lives of 2 people because he wanted to go on a cruise with his fiancée. He was literally willing to tell the police whatever it took, throw whoever under the bus so he could get married that Friday. Do you honestly think that your fiancé still wants to marry you, guy? Because let me tell you what, I've been with Sean a long time, but if I found all that out, we would be having a postponement, probably permanently. I would never cover up something like this for my fiance. I would be like, hello police. No, I wouldn't. Even if it was an accident, no, we're calling the police. Like, no. Anyway, have you guys heard of this story before? There is a new, and I should have written it down and I didn't, I suck, podcast that is like delving super deep into this case, and I listened to it a little, but I have trouble when I listen to podcasts not using their words instead of my own, because I have one of those memories where I kind of remember everything, and so I usually try not to finish them if I find the case so interesting until I film a video for you guys. Yeah, this was a sad one, and I am just gonna close with money doesn't buy you happiness, and no matter what, no one's life is worth taking. Everyone's life matters just as much as yours. I'm going to put a couple links in the description box for people with PTSD and, veterans who need help. That wasn't the cause of anything in this case, but just in case you need it. And again, if you ever need to talk, I will always listen. Thank you guys so much for all of your support